Welcome to Shatter.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. She said it like she was reading a weather report. No emotion, no hesitation, just a quiet sentence over roasted chicken and a half glass of wine. I met someone. I didn't drop my fork, didn't raise my voice, didn't even blink. I just looked up from my plate, tilted my head slightly, and studied her face like she was an abstract painting. Unfamiliar, unimportant. Her eyes searched mine, waiting for something, a spark, a fight, maybe a breakdown. She expected noise. Instead, I gave her silence. Then I smirked, just a flicker, and went back to my food. The silence made her shift in her seat. I could feel her discomfort bleeding through her suddenly perfect posture. She was braced for chaos, but chaos never came. Because I wasn't that man anymore. The man who used to chase her affection, who tried to fix cold silences with warm words, who bent until he broke, just to keep things feeling whole. That man died a quiet death months ago. I ate slowly, methodically, and when I was done, I wiped my mouth, stood up, and said, "You expected tears? Sorry, I'm not who I was." Then I walked to the sink, rinsed my plate, and left her at the table, alone with the weight of her decision. That night, I didn't storm out. I didn't ask who, didn't beg her to stay. I just started deleting her from my world. Mentally, emotionally, systemically. She went to bed in the guest room. I didn't ask her to. She just knew. And I slept better than I had in years. Because when someone shows you they've moved on, you don't follow them into the fire. You walk out of the building and let it burn behind you. The next morning, she acted like it didn't happen. She poured her coffee, talked about her schedule, like she hadn't lit a match, and watched me not flinch. But something was off in her eyes. A flicker of fear. Because she realized I wasn't angry. I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't even surprised. I was done. And that was something she'd never planned for. I started with the pictures. Not the ones on my phone. The real ones. Frames on the walls. Photos stuck to the fridge. Scrapbooks she insisted on making during the happy years. I removed them one by one, not in anger, but with precision. Like cutting out a tumor. Silent. Focused. Unemotional. Each smile frozen in print was a reminder of a version of her that no longer existed. Or maybe she never did. Doesn't matter. I boxed everything. Labeled it. Past. Returned to sender. The irony helped. Next came the gifts. That sweater she got me last Christmas, gone. The mug with "World's Best Husband" printed in fake gold, trashed. The cologne she liked on me, poured down the drain. She had moved out emotionally months ago. I was just catching up physically. Her stuff? I packed it all. Neatly. No revenge. No slashes. Just clean cuts. Even her favorite blanket, the one she always curled under on movie nights, folded with care and placed in the box like it deserved closure too. The ring was next. It sat on my finger like a scar that never healed right. I took it off, stared at it in my palm, then dropped it into the drawer without a word. I didn't throw it, didn't pawn it, just removed it. Same as I was doing with her. She came home later that day. Didn't notice the missing photos right away, but her eyes kept flicking toward empty walls, bare shelves. I saw it click. The shift. The panic she tried to hide. She asked if everything was okay. I nodded. Everything's exactly how it should be. She didn't ask more. She didn't want the answer. That night, I changed the locks. Called a locksmith after she went to bed. Quietly. Smoothly. Efficient. She still had her key. She just didn't know it no longer mattered. By morning, I had deleted her from every account. Streaming services. Shared playlists. Cloud storage. Gone. Our memories weren't shared anymore. They were mine to delete. She left for work without saying goodbye. I didn't watch her leave. Just listened to the sound of the door closing. It was the last time she walked out of a house that still felt like ours. Because by nightfall, it wouldn't. I burned incense. Opened every window. Let the air sweep out the traces of her perfume, her presence. I moved the furniture. Slept on the other side of the bed. Not because I had to, but because I refused to lie on the ghost of who we were. By the end of the day, the space was mine again. And she was just someone who used to live here. No fights. No tears. No drama. Just silence. And distance. And the slow, methodical cleansing of a woman who thought she could leave and return whenever it suited her. She wanted freedom. Now she had it. And for the first time, she was in it alone. The next cut was financial. Clean. Surgical. Irreversible. We had always shared everything: accounts, passwords, auto payments. It wasn't trust. It was convenience. She liked control. But she didn't know I could take it back without a single word. First, I froze the joint account. Then I redirected my paycheck to a private one she'd never seen. I closed the credit card she used most, the one with her online shopping habits saved. Next, I reviewed our subscriptions. Everything she'd taken for granted. Netflix, gone. Spotify, revoked. Grocery delivery she loved to use when too tired to cook, canceled midweek. She'd feel it when the app stopped working, when her music cut off mid-drive, when the dinner she ordered didn't arrive. Not because I wanted revenge, but because freedom has a price. And I wasn't footing the bill anymore. That Friday, she tried to use the card at a boutique downtown. I got the notification. Declined. She called. I let it ring, then blocked the number. Later, I checked the voicemail out of curiosity. She sounded confused, not angry. Yet, hey, I think something's wrong with the account. Can you check it? Pause. Call me, please. I didn't. She messaged. A few texts. Then more. Did you change the card? Why can't I access the banking app? We need to talk. No, we didn't. Not anymore. I reached out to the bank directly. Made sure all statements came only to me. I even asked for new cards. New passwords. New everything. The last tether was the mortgage. I refinanced it into my name. Yes, it took effort, but worth every second. Because now, the house was mine. The walls she once decorated with her aesthetic, mine. The kitchen she used to dominate with her passive aggression, mine. She still had no idea how far she'd already been erased. That weekend, she came back from wherever she was. Hair done, sunglasses on, like nothing had changed. She walked in, tossed her purse on the counter, and asked, "Did something happen with the bank?" I looked at her. Calm. Detached. You wanted independence. I gave it to you. She stared, like she couldn't process it. That's the thing about people like her. They expect fireworks. Yelling. Begging. They never see the quiet exits coming. Never imagine the man who once held them close could let them fall without trying to catch them. She walked out of the room, silent, checked her phone, checked her apps, checked everything, and it all confirmed the same truth. She was cut off. She once told me she didn't need me. Now she could prove it. Let her new man pay for her brunch. Let him hear her voice tilt when she asked for gas money. Because I wasn't funding her fiction anymore. I wasn't financing betrayal. I was done being her backup plan. And she? She was about to learn what self-sufficiency really looked like. She underestimated how much of her world was built on mine. Not just money, but people, connections. She liked being the center of the room. Warm smiles, polished charm, perfect little anecdotes. But most of the invitations? They came through me. So I stopped sending them. It started small. Unfollowed her best friend on Instagram. Muted the group chats. Left our mutual couple circle without explanation. Then came the real cut. I changed how I spoke about her. To everyone. Short. Clinical. Past tense. We're no longer together. She made her choice. No, I'm not taking questions. People took the hint. They didn't need the details. Her absence from the gatherings said more than any confession ever could. And when they did ask, subtly, nervously, I just smiled and said, "She's doing her thing. I'm doing mine." I blocked her parents. Not out of spite. Out of necessity. They had always been cold, transactional, the same mold she came from. Her cousin tried calling once. Left a message saying she's struggling. I deleted it. Didn't even listen to the rest. Because I wasn't her emergency contact anymore. I wasn't her reputation safety net. She noticed it fast. Suddenly the text slowed down. The calls stopped getting returned. The invitations dried up. People who used to greet her with hugs now offered polite nods and moved on. She confronted me one day. Cornered me in the parking lot after I picked up dry cleaning from the place we both used to go. "Did you tell everyone to cut me off?" she demanded. I looked at her. Calm. Neutral. No. They just saw what I saw. Eventually, people do. She blinked like I slapped her. But I didn't raise my voice. Didn't argue. Didn't linger. Just walked to my car and left her standing there with her arms crossed, not in defiance, but in defense. Like she realized how cold the world could feel when it no longer revolved around her. Because people remember who you were in the silence. And her silence had screamed volumes. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't bragging. I was just done playing PR for someone who never protected me. She used to call me boring but stable. Now I was gone. And stability went with me. Let Gavin introduce her to his world. Let her rebuild from scratch. Because mine had updated its contacts. And her name was no longer in it. You don't realize how much of a home holds someone's ghost until you start pushing it out. Not physically, emotionally, visually, scent by scent, wall by wall. She hadn't lived there for weeks. Not really. But pieces of her still lingered like residue. Her perfume in the closet. The throw pillows she insisted on. That framed quote in the hallway she said reflected who we are. There was no we anymore. So I reclaimed it. The first thing to go was the furniture. Not all of it, just the things that still looked like her. The overly decorative lamp. The blanket she draped across the couch for aesthetic. The chair she never sat in but always corrected its position. Gone. I repainted the walls. Dark navy in the bedroom. Slate gray in the living room. Every brushstroke was a reset. She once said neutrals were emotionally safe. Exactly. That's what I needed. Safe. Cold. Untouched by her preferences. I replaced the curtains. Tore out the fake plants. Donated the dishes she picked. And when I opened the kitchen drawer and saw the wine opener she bought for our nights in, I dropped it straight into the trash. That chapter was closed. No rewrites. The closet? Cleared. Everything of hers. Packed and dropped at a storage unit. She got the access code in a text. No message. No goodbye. Let her pick it up when she was ready. Or not. I changed my mattress. It sounds small, but it mattered. That was the bed where she whispered lies. Where she pretended. Where she planned her exits while I lay beside her, blind to the rot. So I burned the sheets. Donated the comforter. Bought a new set. Plain, simple mine. And then I stood in the middle of the room. Silent. Still. And finally felt air that didn't taste like her. It was peace. Not loud. Not dramatic. But real. That night, I cooked a meal I liked. Listened to music she never understood. Ate in silence. And smiled for no one. Because the house wasn't haunted anymore. It was hollow. In the best way. No fake laughs. No gaslighting. No walking on eggshells. Just me. My breath. My rules. She once told me, during an argument, this house only feels like home because I made it one. She was wrong. Now that she was gone, it finally did. A week after the house was finally mine again, I got asked out. By someone I'd worked with for over a year. Madison, our department coordinator. She'd always been polite, maybe a little flirty. But I never paid attention. Back then, I was loyal. Now I was free. So I said yes. Not because I was looking for something. Not because I needed to prove anything. But because I wanted to see if I still felt anything at all. We met at a quiet place. Nothing flashy. She was pretty. Smart. Comfortable in her own skin. The kind of woman who knew what she wanted and didn't need to fake it. We talked over drinks. She asked about my hobbies. I asked about her goals. Everything stayed light. Controlled. She smiled a lot. Touched her hair when I spoke. Leaned in. And I sat there, watching it all like a scene from someone else's life. Because something had changed in me. There was no excitement. No butterflies. No hunger to connect. Just observation. Disconnection. Peace. She laughed at something I said, genuinely. But all I could think about was how easy this was. How light it felt compared to the slow, emotional suffocation I'd left behind. At the end of the night, she asked if I wanted to come up. I smiled politely. Said I had an early morning. She nodded. Didn't push. Didn't pout. It was nice. Respectful. Simple. And that's exactly what I needed. Not noise. Not passion. Just space. I went home and slept better than I had in days. No replaying conversations. No wondering what she thought. No emotional residue. Just sleep. And silence. The kind you earn. The next morning, I saw her message. Had a great time. Hope we can do it again. I replied. Politely. Thanks, Madison. I appreciate that. No promises. No games. No attachment. Because I wasn't trying to move on. I had already moved through. She, the woman I once bent over backward for. She thought I'd fall apart. That I'd spiral. That I'd fill the void with the first warm body I could find. But I didn't want chaos. I wanted clarity. And I had it. Let her wonder if I'd found someone. Let her imagine candlelit dates, laughter, intimacy. What I found was control. And I wasn't giving that up for anyone. Not again. Not even if she came crawling back. Especially then. It was bound to happen eventually. A city this size, familiar habits, old patterns. We were going to cross paths. I just didn't expect it that night. I was meeting a friend at a rooftop bar downtown. The kind of place she never liked. Too loud, too casual, not our vibe. That should have been my first clue she'd never really liked me. Just the version of me that fit her brand. I walked in early, grabbed a corner table. The city lights spilled across the skyline. I sat there, relaxed, calm, soaking in the hum of freedom. Then I heard it. A laugh I used to know. Forced. A little too loud. I turned my head, and there she was. She was standing near the bar with two friends I barely recognized. Hair curled, dressed just tight enough to look like she was trying. She hadn't seen me yet, but I saw her. Saw the effort. The controlled pose. The glance at her reflection in the window. And then she saw me. For a moment, the whole bar might as well have gone silent. Her expression cracked, just slightly. Shock. Confusion. Something else underneath. She didn't look angry. She looked unprepared. She whispered something to her friend and walked toward me. Small steps. Controlled pace. Like she was trying not to show the tremble in her knees. "Hey," she said, standing at the edge of my table. Soft. Careful. Like approaching an animal that might bite. I looked up. Met her eyes. "Hey," I replied. Even tone. Unshaken. She searched my face. Like she was trying to read if I missed her. If there was anything left. But I didn't give her a single clue. "You look different," she said finally. I smiled barely. "I am." She blinked. Something inside her shifted. Panic, maybe. "Are you with someone?" I shrugged. "Does it matter?" That one hit. Harder than I thought it would. She tried to hold eye contact, but I saw the way she faltered. The way her confidence cracked. The way her voice wavered when she asked, "Can we talk sometime?" I leaned back in my chair. Tilted my head. Looked at her like a stranger. "We talked. You just didn't listen." She inhaled, shallow. Stepped back like I'd pushed her. But I hadn't touched her. I didn't have to. She opened her mouth. I stood up. Not to fight. Not to argue. Just to leave. I walked past her. Shoulder to shoulder. No glance back. Because closure isn't owed. And respect doesn't survive betrayal. She thought seeing me again would be her second chance. What she got was proof she'd already lost me. Not in rage. Not in heartbreak. But in complete, irreversible indifference. The text started 3 days after the bar. Late at night. Of course. The first one came at 1:14 a.m. "Can we talk?" No punctuation. No name. Like we were still close enough that her number should trigger some emotion. It didn't. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. Then turned it off. No reply. No need. The next night, another one. "I know I messed up. Please don't ignore me." But that's exactly what I did. Because what she didn't understand, what she still couldn't grasp, was that silence wasn't a punishment. It was a decision. She wanted freedom. Now she was shouting into empty space. The third night, she sent a voice message. I didn't play it. Just watched the timestamp. 0:47 seconds of regret. Maybe crying. Maybe explaining. Maybe begging. Didn't matter. The day she picked someone else was the day she forfeited her access. I wasn't going to offer her the illusion of emotional safety again. Not after everything. She tried a different number. Blocked. She sent a long email, 5 paragraphs. Subject line, "I just need to say this." Deleted without opening. Because it's not that I didn't know what she wanted to say. It's that I no longer cared. She could say sorry 1,000 different ways. It wouldn't build a bridge to the man she used to know. That man was buried under her lies. And I wasn't digging him up. She started messaging mutual friends. One of them forwarded a screenshot. I think I made the biggest mistake of my life. Funny how that realization always comes after the damage is done. After the mask cracks. After the one you took for granted walks away and never turns back. She sent one final message a week later. Short. Simple. Heavy. "You really don't feel anything anymore?" I didn't reply. Because the answer wasn't hers to hear. It was mine to live. And I was. Sleeping. Training. Reading. Breathing in a life she no longer belonged to. Her messages stopped eventually. Not because she found closure. But because she realized she'd been talking to a ghost. The man who used to respond? He wasn't home. He wasn't reachable. He wasn't hers. She lost me in silence. Now silence was all she got in return. Disappearing isn't about changing locations. It's about removing access. Pulling the thread until you're nothing but a memory with no handle left to grab. I started with the essentials. New number. New email. New city. I took a job offer 2 states over. One I'd declined before for her sake. This time, I accepted in under 5 minutes. A clean break. New apartment. No forwarding address. No social media. Gone. Not with a slam. Not with a door in her face. Just absence. The kind you can't scream at. The kind you can't manipulate. The kind that leaves you sitting in your own choices, alone. I left the storage unit unlocked. She could take whatever was left. I didn't even check. None of it meant anything anymore. The old life? Scrubbed. Photos deleted. Clouds wiped. Shared playlists? Gone. That Spotify account we built together was now silent. She was used to having a version of me on standby. Quiet. Reliable. Still orbiting. Now, she couldn't find me if she tried. And I know she tried. I got a call from a mutual acquaintance, a guy from our old gym. He said she'd shown up, asked if he'd heard from me. Said she looked lost. Not devastated. Not destroyed. Just stripped of the certainty she used to wear like armor. Because the one thing she never prepared for was being irrelevant. I was always the fallback. The safe bet. The emotional insurance policy. Now I was an empty page in a book she couldn't reread. She didn't just lose me. She lost the version of herself that only existed through me. No one to vent to. No one to gaslight. No one to clean up the mess when her charm wore thin. I left no door open. No inbox. No voicemail. If she drove to my old address, she'd find a different name on the box. If she called my old job, HR would confirm I no longer worked there. I wasn't hiding. I was done. And that's the part that would break her. Not the anger. Not the revenge. But the final, brutal indifference. Because she always thought she could come back. Always counted on that last little ember. But I didn't burn the bridge. I buried it. And now, I lived in a place where she couldn't follow. Not emotionally, not digitally, not even in memory. She once said she needed space. Now space is all she has. She showed up one last time. Or at least, she tried. My old neighbor sent me a photo, grainy, taken from across the street. There she was, standing in front of my former house. Wind in her hair. Hands in her coat pockets. Waiting for a door that would never open. The porch light didn't turn on. Because I didn't live there anymore. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not just physically, like something inside her had collapsed. And maybe it had. Because she never expected this ending. She expected tears. Drama. Maybe even one last cruel argument she could twist into a comeback. What she got was absence. I didn't change because I wanted to hurt her. I changed because I needed to survive. And now that I had, she was no longer even part of the story. She stood there for over an hour, according to the timestamp. Then left. No note. No message. No more chances. That was her final scene. And I wasn't even in it. A few weeks later, I ran into someone who knew her. They said she's working on herself. Living in a studio. Seeing a therapist. Apparently, Gavin disappeared the minute things got real. Funny how fast illusions fall apart when they hit actual consequences. I didn't laugh. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. Because none of it mattered anymore. The man she lied to? Gone. The man she used? Gone. The man who waited for her to grow up? Gone. She got her space. She got her freedom. She got exactly what she asked for. And now, she sits in it. Alone. In the echo. In the quiet she once romanticized. As for me, I wake up early. Run through streets she'll never find. Cook breakfast in a kitchen she's never seen. Laugh at jokes she wouldn't understand. And I don't look back. Because I didn't just move on. I leveled up. No texts. No rage. No closure. Just silence. The kind that speaks louder than any goodbye. And if, one day, she ever stands in front of a mirror and whispers my name, there won't be an answer. Just the hollow sound of what she lost. Not a man. Not a husband. But the last person who ever truly saw her. And walked away anyway. Final words? I don't need them. But if I had to choose one. You wanted freedom. Now it's all you have. Forever. Real men don't explode. They exit. Subscribe for more power stories.